Hey guys, Chris here with Work to Game, and today I'd like to talk about Blitzball.
Now, yes, I do want to take a moment to note that I am in a different room. This is what's eventually going to be the master. There's an ensuite bathroom and everything that's going to get redone back there. The game room is almost done. It's right next door here, but we've done some reorganizing to allow for the construction to take place, and so here I am. I am excited.
So change of scenery aside, for those of you that didn't play Final Fantasy X or Final Fantasy X2, you may not be familiar with Blitzball and why people are kind of excited that it was even asked about in a recent news event with Yoshi P.
So in those games, it was the primary sport that everything focused around, like a football, soccer, rugby type sport, and I just kind of wanted to introduce people to it before we broke into why it may be awesome in Stormblood, but why we're probably not going to get it. It centers on a 30 centimeter diameter ball that's kind of spiked, and it's in a spherical water arena. Now the water in there is filled with Pyrefly infused water, which gives people the ability to breathe so they can stay down there for the extended periods of time to play a game.
The objective is simple. Kick it into the enemy's goal before they kick it into yours. The game originally consisted of 2 5-minute rounds. It was eventually reduced to 1 5-minute round. And if you were at a tie, there was some overtime that kind of took place.
Mercy rules eventually said that if you scored over 7 goals, more than them at any time, the game was over.
Now the game consisted of 8v8, and that does already beg the question that if there were to be a remaster of this game brought into Final Fantasy XIV, would we do 4v4, would we do 8v8 and do the full team as the original size, or would we possibly just do a coach type player down view like a foosball, where everybody is controlled by one player versus one player?
Now, while Spire in Final Fantasy X only had one remaining stadium, if I remember correctly, this would actually be really cool as kind of an extension of almost like a Golden Saucer-esque thing of the East. And we could see the West respond by maybe eventually building stadiums. Maybe they represent the 3 actual factions. And it'd be really interesting to see is that tied to Manderville in some way? Is Manderville already over in the East and we just don't know it because we've never been there? Or is this just kind of their counterpart and this is the game that's played in the new regions?
Now, not all Final Fantasy universes are meant to overlap. It's actually very well discussed that you can have the same characters be totally different in these different universes. So you can change the game just a little bit and bring it over and just say, okay, yes, it's inspired by something we did in a game that was successful in the past. But what does that look like?
Now, obviously, there could be seasons in a very similar PvP type method. There could be rankings. This could result in loot such as new mounts, new minions. Maybe the uniforms are gear that you have to equip to go in, but then there's also some glamour that comes out of that based on how you rank.
And it could be a gold sink. We could have entry fees, we could have gear fees, we could have all sorts of things. Maybe you have to pay for the Pyrefly infusion. I don't really know what that looks like because the game is lacking in money sinks as it sits today.
But with the recent news that we're going to see more aquatic themes in Stormblood, people obviously asked, oh my gosh, are we getting Blitzball back? Now, me personally, Final Fantasy X was one of my favorite Final Fantasy games I've ever played, and so I would love to see Blitzball make an appearance. But Yoshi P did say, yes, we would love to see it come back too, but only in the right way.
And why is that hard? Why is it so hard to make something come back in the right way?
Obviously, we as players want it. Obviously, we as players think that the theme is a good fit. We expect the loot to do well. It would complement the current zones.
And so as long as they have the money to pay for the programmers to do it, I don't understand the problem. But actually, it's a little more complex than just a lack of resources, or is it high enough on the priority list?
When it comes to Stormblood news so far, Square Enix has met or exceeded every expectation that I've seen out there in what they're saying they're going to deliver. There's more zones, the classes look incredible, everything looks wonderful. There's a few areas I'd love to see fleshed out a little more, but hopefully when we dive in, those will already be waiting for us. So to expect Blitzball on top of this is a tall order.
And the real question is, what does that look like? As we have single-player games back in Final Fantasy X, and our nostalgia tells us they were amazing, how do we bring that content forward and make it relevant to the way people play games today and relevant to the platform of Final Fantasy XIV?
If it ends up being a Golden Saucer type mini game from a gameplay standpoint where it's almost this secondary thing, then how do they make it have enough depth where I don't just try it for a couple months, say it's a neat gimmick, pick up my achievements, and move on? Because if they're going to spend all the resources to bring this in, it should have some life to it. And some of the mini games and other aspects of the game that they brought in really don't.
But if they dive in all the way and they make it almost comparable to like another form of PvP where there's this 8v8, there's a ranking system, is that going to overwhelm current players?
And how do they stay true to what was in Final Fantasy X and what is in Final Fantasy XIV? You have two very different platforms here, and you have a single player and you have a multiplayer, and you have what was and you have what is. Technology has changed. What people expect of games has changed. How people play games has changed. And when you talk about trying to protect something that was so wonderful while also honoring what you're putting it into, that is a tough balance to strike.
Now, if we're doing 8v8 or even dropping it down to 4v4, do we incorporate classes? Are there different players, like in a rugby team, right? And so do you have people doing different positions, or is this just chaos? Everybody bum rushes the ball. You got one guy playing goalie and we call it a day.
And how do you balance global cooldowns? Global cooldowns are the way that we balance PvP. Global cooldowns plus predictable mechanics is how we balance PvE. And that's what allows people to play on different platforms and all play equally. And yes, I'm sure Savage players and top-level PvP players factor in reaction time and all of that, but really for the masses, for the majority of players, you have a little bit of protection on your latency there. And the answer would be to leave the game turn-based. But what does it look like if it's 8v8 and I've got 15 turns before it's mine again?
Okay, so then you just make it 1v1 and it's foosball looking down. But then have we lost the depth of the game? I want to play with my friends. I want to have a team with my friends. I want to play against computers. I want to play different challenge modes. I want to play against other players in ranked and unranked play.
And should the game be more real time? Sports games, first-person shooters, racing games, these are genres that are fast-paced. So as we bring these into Final Fantasy and we add racing games with the Chocobo racing, and we add maybe there's a first-person shooter type thing, which I think PvP fills the void. It doesn't need to be any more real-time than it is, but global cooldowns and stuff obviously helps slow that down to where it tolerates latency. And now we've added this. And with this possibly being added, all speculation here, they haven't confirmed any of this. What does that look like? Is it real time like a FIFA, or is it more turn-based?
So I hope I've touched on a couple points here why people are understanding that Yoshi P came out and was incredibly vague and just said, I'd love to, not sure we can. I would love to see this in Stormblood. Can Blitzball fit Stormblood? And if so, is it a later content patch? It seems to be a really great opportunity with the kind of water theming that they're saying is taking place. It seems like a logical game. I can picture the three factions taking part. I can picture there being seasonal events. I can picture there being ranked play. I can picture this being an extension of the aspects of the game that Manderville is trying to fill. I just want to see it done in the right way as well, and I don't want to see them cheapen something that was amazing. For those of you that haven't played Final Fantasy X, absolutely go back, pick up a copy, give it a shot in your free time. Wonderful game. Blitzball is incredible. So I would love to hear what you guys think. Maybe you guys haven't played Final Fantasy X, but you've seen footage. Maybe you are a huge Final Fantasy X fan like I am, and I would love to see all that in the comments below. Do you think Blitzball should be in? When do you think it should be released? And what does that look like? Is it 4v4? Is it 8v8? Is it 1v1? Is it only against PvE? Is it only PvP? How does that shape up, and what do you wish Square Enix would come out with when they actually decide to address this topic more than just vaguely? Please hit that like button if you haven't. It really tells Brian and I what videos you guys want to see more of, and we appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't. Welcome to the community, and thank you guys so much for watching.